Kelly, what's up, man?
Hey, Alex. Good to see you, buddy.
We're about to do a Dead Ends episode, right?
Oh, I love these. These are
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
And these are about things that normally we talk about people that aren't around anymore. This is when we talk about anything that's not a person that's not around anymore, right?
Yeah, we've had some fun with these, with CD-ROMs and Photomat and water fountains and all kinds of fun stuff.
So I know we say we don't take requests. That's famously something. You take requests. You've taken a number of requests.
You've said that more than me.
You've taken a number of requests from your mom.
I think when it comes to this duo, like I'm the nice one and you're kind of the
good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
And I'm not making an exception here, but I will tell you we have a super listener, Chris from Austin. You know Chris?
Oh, Chris from Austin. Yeah, I think I've seen his emails and stuff. I think I know who he is.
Yeah. And he recommended a subject for Dead Ends that was already on I have a list. I don't know if you have a list, but I have a list of things to talk, and this was the next one up anyways.
You're not only the mean one, you're also the organized one.
Well, it's going to sound like I'm placating Chris from Austin, but Chris, I already had this up, buddy. But it gave me a little lift under my wings to let me know that it was what the people are looking for. Chris is kind of the what would you call him, an avatar of our listening audience. Like I think of Chris when I think of who's out there.
Yes, I think he even has a Dirt Nap City T-shirt. So
I think he got the first one.
He did. Yeah, he got the very first Dirt Nap City T-shirt. That'll be worth something someday. Hold on to that, Chris. Just like a AOL CD still in its packaging.
Have you ever mentioned Patreon on here, or is it a secret?
Oh, no, it's not a secret at all. As a matter of fact, we do have our first Patreon as well. Al from Austin.
So what is Patreon, and how would somebody get on there?
Well, Patreon is a way to support the show financially. And, we have to pay every month for hosting. We have to pay for this platform where we do our recording. And then, of course, there's just our time and all that sort of thing. We're not trying to make a bundle on this, but we're also trying to kind of break even. So if you were to go to the Patreon link, which is in the description, and, join for a very small dollar amount, you would get all kinds of shout outs. Probably get a T-shirt or a sticker right out of the gate because we don't have very many, at least for the first few people who support us on Patreon. So it's just a click below and you just sign up, and it's like $3 or $4 or $5 a month. You'll be supporting our show. And when we have hundreds or thousands of you, we're going to quit and do this full time.
Hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds or thousands.
So if we have 100, we're going to quit.
No, hundreds with an S.
Or
it would have to be 200.
200. As soon as we get to 200 Patreon, we're both quitting our jobs.
At $3 a month, that's $600.
Split two ways.
That. Yep.
I think that's a good plan. I'm going to go tell my wife.
Yes. I'm not going to tell my wife. I'm keeping that a secret. She better get a job.
Well, Chris and I want to talk about the Sony Walkman.
Oh, yes.
Before there was a Sony Walkman, let me just take you back to the mid-'70s. And we used to ski a lot. I grew up in Michigan. We used to ski, and we had a family friend who liked to listen to music while he skied. So he took the cassette player you had like in the library,
Oh, the little flat one with the big
flat
buttons.
One. Yeah, with the big buttons.
And the record button was red.
Yep. He would take one of those and he would duct tape that around his chest like a suicide bomber. He duct taped that to his chest, and then he would put on these big cans like the ones that we're wearing now, but imagine the kind they had in the 70s that were heavy.
Yeah.
And he would plug that into the tape player and he would play music while he skied. This was like 1970. This predates the Walkman by about 5 years.
So he's playing like Sonny and Cher at this point.
I actually think he was into a band called Roxy Music. You remember them?
Oh, I do remember Roxy Music. Yeah.
Yeah. He was into early Talking Heads.
Okay. Sort of the earliest new wave.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that even taped down, whenever because he let me try this, and the tape didn't do well with bumps. Anytime there was a mogul or something that you're going over, it would kind of the shock.
Probably didn't do well with the cold either.
I don't remember that. I just remember it being real cumbersome because you're wearing gloves and just having to open your coat and then push play and then close it and then like I said, whenever there was kind of shock or bumps, it wouldn't skip like a record would, but it would sometimes turn off, and
Yeah,
sometimes it would
the button would get hit.
yeah, just all kinds of problems. But he persisted. But at the same time he was doing this in our little town in Michigan, the founder of Sony, Masaru Abuka, was doing the same thing while he was walking. He wanted to listen to his music. Now, this guy was the head of a big company that was a big electronics company. So he asked one of the development teams to make him something that he could listen to while he was on his morning walks. And
Okay.
they came up with this portable cassette player and brought it to market. You know what year it came out?
I'm gonna guess 82.
1979.
79. Okay.
79, it came out. It was a cassette player and it sold for $150, which in today's money would be about $680.
Okay, so let me just interject real quick because I do have a quick story. It probably was around 82 was the first time I saw one, and I was at summer camp, and one of the campers, one of the other kids, I was 12 at the time, 11 or 12 years old. One of the other kids had one with him, and I thought it was the coolest thing. He was listening to music on it. He let me try it. Very immersive, and portable. You could walk around with it. You could lay on your bed with it, whatever you wanted to do. And I remember when I got back home, I wanted to get one. I was like, I really want that. And I remember checking the price and it being like 200 and something dollars. Now
Probably
maybe it was a
was by
different
then.
model.
Well, it was
Yeah,
150 in 79. So I'm sure that by the time it got popular and everybody wanted one and they got a little more advanced. So by 82, 83, yeah, it's probably over $200, which again, in today's money is like $800.
yeah, and I just remember being shocked at how expensive it was, thinking, "Wow, this is just a cassette player," but it was really the miniaturization of it that did it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They thought originally that it was going to sell about 5,000 units a month, and it sold 30,000 in the first 2 months.
Dang.
They actually, do you know what year they stopped production of the cassette Walkman?
Probably 95?
These things are always a little later than you think. 2010 was the last,
Wow. You could still buy a cassette Walkman in 2010.
yeah. And it's funny because I went to eBay and checked, and I thought they would it would be really expensive if you had like, no, you can still buy one for like $35.
Wow.
Cassette Walkman. In fact, you can buy some of the originals from 1979 when they weren't even called Walkman yet. When they came out in the US, well, they were called Walkman in Japan, which is kind of, when you think about Walkman, is kind of a clumsy word that doesn't make a lot of sense in English. Now it
Yeah,
does.
but you said the Sony founder wanted to go for a walk, and so kind of
Right.
makes sense.
And he was a man. That's true.
Yeah.
But it's not really an English word, you know?
Yeah.
In the US, the first one was called the Soundabout.
Okay. And that a Sony product or someone
Yeah,
else
it was
made
the
it?
Sony Soundabout, which was the same thing as the Walkman, but they just called it Walkman in Japan. In Australia and Sweden, they called it the Freestyle. In the UK, they called it the Sony Stowaway. But really, the Walkman is the one that kind of took hold, and it's what we know today. But I found a Soundabout last night on eBay for $48, like an
Wow.
original 1979 Soundabout. It
In
still
in the packaging
works.
or
No, gently
okay,
used.
had gently used, yeah.
45 years later, it was gently used. AA batteries. When you think
Yep.
about that, that's kind of a game changer. You don't have to charge it or anything like that. Just throw some AA batteries in that thing, and away you go. They sold 220 million of these cassette players before it was all said and done.
Dang.
220 million. Pretty much everybody had one by the end of its run, right? At some point in their life. And later they came up with the Discman. You remember the Discman?
Yeah, yeah. Now that had a lot of problem with skipping. If you try to do anything with that, it would skip.
Yeah, they changed the name of Discman to CD Walkman. I think they were trying to just keep that Walkman brand, but I like
Right.
Discman better. They still
Yeah.
sell some flash memory players that are kind of still going to that Walkman brand, but it's not really a thing anymore.
You remember the Microsoft Zoon? I think we talked about
Yeah,
that once
we've talked
before.
about that before. Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of a failure, wasn't it? In
It was.
1986, they introduced Walkman in the Oxford English Dictionary. That's when you know you really made it, right? When just anything to refer to a portable listening device is a Walkman. It doesn't have to be the Sony brand anymore, you know?
I think with older people our age, maybe even a little younger, but people who grew up with that, you could even say to somebody who's listening to their phone, who has headphones plugged into their phone or ear AirPods or whatever sort of Bluetooth headset you're listening to, you could say, "Turn off that Walkman," or
Right.
"I'm going to listen to my
Sure.
Walkman," and people would know
Sure.
what you were talking about.
Absolutely. They added a radio in 82. That might be the model that you first were turned on to.
So let me talk about that real quick. Actually, my parents ended up getting me one, and I have to say, my parents usually got me the better. It seems like throughout my life, when I wanted something, we wouldn't get it right away. They would wait a little while, and then they would get the um, slightly more expensive and slightly more advanced thing. So, for example, I got an Intellivision instead of an Atari, right? And Intellivision was sort of next generation.
We've already established that you're kind of silver spoon upbringing on the last episode.
I remember when they got me a camcorder. Like I had asked for a certain camcorder, and they got me a better one that did more things. But on the Walkman, they got me a Toshiba, and the Toshiba, interestingly, you mentioned a radio. It did the cassette player thing, but it had auto reverse, so it would reverse the tape and play the other side, which I don't know if the original Walkman had. You had to actually pop the tape out and flip it over. But also, it had a thing that was the shape of a cassette tape. I wish I still had this thing. It was pretty cool. You put it into the cassette slot, and it was the radio module. It
Oh, I
basically,
remember those. It had like an antenna inside it.
I guess, I can't remember what it looked like. It was a Toshiba, but yeah, I was so happy when I got that thing, and I used it for years and years.
Well, it really changed society when you think about it. It was a big deal to listen to your own music privately. In fact, a lot of academic articles are written um, about some of these um, constructs called like auditized looking and things like this. But the idea is that you had control over your own environment. Some people say the world changed the day that the Walkman was released, and just in terms of how we move about our world. Here's something that's crazy too: is that between 1987 and 1997, the number of people that walked for exercise increased by 30%. Now, you could say it's because of the Walkman, or you could say the Walkman was answering this demand. It might have been Jane Fonda and the running boom and all that, but talk about something coming at the right time and probably helping that along. I mean, you could just have control over your own world. In fact, in 1983, cassettes for the first time outsold vinyl records. And I'm
Yeah,
certainly
because
had
of their
this.
portability.
Yeah, of course. Now, the founder of Sony, he thought that if people were kind of shutting down and putting this Walkman on, that it would be rude to have those in public. So he had what they called a hotline switch, and you might remember these on some of the early ones, where if someone was trying to talk to you, you push a button, and it had a microphone, so it would make the music softer and then amplify what the person was trying to say to you. They had like a microphone because he thought that people would want to talk to you, and it would be rude to not talk to them. Later, that was removed because what happened, and we know this now, it seems obvious now, is that by having control of your own environment and wearing headphones, it makes you look busy. And
Yeah.
nobody does come up to you and try to talk to you. and some say that's a bad thing, and some say that's a good thing. It definitely, moving around with a Walkman, as you know, makes boring things interesting. You can make a car drive. It can be a soundtrack to a boring car ride or a morning walk. And this idea of auditized looking is the idea that you can escape eye contact just by putting headphones on, that people don't mess with you. In a sense, you become invisible. It's almost like wearing dark sunglasses. It's like, don't mess with me. And some might say that's a bad thing, that we are disengaging from the world, but others say it's control. And sometimes when we're out in the public, we don't necessarily want to engage with other people. And this is a way to kind of mute yourself. It's almost like you have a secret from the rest of the world. They can't hear what you're hearing. And they found that people that wear headphones tend to be more happy, more confident, and calmer because they're enjoying the world around them.
So you know that when we do these recording sessions, this is a soundtrack for a boring recording session. I'm listening to music.
Absolutely.
These headphones don't have your voice in them. They have music playing. I'm just lip reading.
I thought you meant that we are the boring soundtrack to someone else's day.
Oh, yeah. This is getting really meta, isn't it?
There's a statue. You remember the sports Walkman, the yellow ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a statue of a sports Walkman in Tokyo. At the 40th anniversary of the Walkman, they erected a statue in downtown Tokyo. So that was 2019.
Wow.
So you can go visit add that to the list of things we need to check out. Statue of a sports Walkman.
So also, the other sort of, I guess, next evolution of this, the Meta Quest, and then the new Apple VR headset, or AR, augmented reality, virtual reality. They're calling it something else. It's something computing. They're using a new term for it. I can't remember, augmented computing or spatial computing, I think is what they're calling it. But if you haven't seen it, Casey Neistat did a video where he went all around New York City wearing a set of those glasses. And what's interesting, like you were talking about the pass-through for audio, now they have a pass-through for video. So you can see everything that's going around. You can hear people around you, but then you can also see, you could be listening to Dirt Nap City. You could be watching YouTube videos while you're walking down the street and still see what's going on in the street. It's crazy.
So it's kind of transparent. You can kind of see through the picture. Yeah. I'm thinking right now, it doesn't make you invisible, though. It makes you stand out if you're wearing those glasses now.
Yeah.
Look like a weirdo.
And stand out like a weirdo, not like a standout. Standout sounds very positive. I think if I saw somebody walking down the street wearing a pair of those glasses, I'd think they were more of a weirdo.
Throw something at them.
Well, yeah, of course. Kick them. Well, Alex, thank you. That's quite a memory lane. And Chris from Austin, thanks for that suggestion. We really appreciate it. I'll make sure to get you a Dirt Nap City sticker.
All right. Take it easy, Kelly. Bye.
All right, let's hit stop on the cassette and stop.